Alright, welcome back. Georgie's having a drink. And today we are talking horror.
Yeah.
Funny. Horror TV shows and horror games.
Mm-hmm.
So, while it's the spooky season, we thought we'd bring you all the spookiest stuff that you can watch and play.
Yes.
So, kick off with the horror TV shows.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
So this is like our list of like our favourite ones. The ones that...
Yeah, this is the ones that we like and the ones that are maybe not great, but are also fun to watch.
I'm so excited to hear what's on your list now.
Thank you. Yeah, I have some choices. I think we'd be amiss to not mention, obviously, like The Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor. That's currently
I haven't watched it yet.
a big bang.
My mom marathoned it. I was like,
Nice.
proud of you.
Jackie's a babe.
right.
She's got great taste.
She has. She's got a Live Deliciously t-shirt. She ordered it, so...
Yeah, she does.
She's a queen.
I was not that bothered by Hill House.
Okay.
Aesthetically, they're both very pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
But I sort of like, again, it was like the hype train for me. So I was sold on something that was going to be terrifying.
Yeah.
And really, it was sort of neither here nor there for me. So
Okay.
really good. Some scenes are quite scary. And I think if you're maybe not as into horror, not as desensitized to some stuff, like you'll probably find it more sort of affecting.
Would you call it more unnerving than scary then, maybe?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, it's definitely got some creepy moments, and I don't want to, like, gatekeep, but I just think, like, if you're out for something that's going to scare the pants off you, might not be this. But if you have, you know, sort of particular traumas around certain things, this might affect you slightly more. Like, it looks a lot at, like, you know, traumatic events and loss and grief and things like that. So I think it would affect you quite a big way, that sort of wise. And Bly Manor's kind of the same. I'm only like halfway through, I have to admit. But again, visually, it's grand.
Yeah.
Digging it. It's in the 80s, so I like everybody's outfits.
Always.
I hate the little kids.
Is that the meme that I keep seeing about something being, what is it? Perfectly
splendid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
I really
that?
want. There's like a lake in the middle of the grounds, and honestly, I want to push him in it. The girl apparently voices like Peppa Pig, or is something to do with. So that's why she's like so annoying. They're just awful children. They're not, obviously, like they're doing like a great job, but like, they're just the worst. Like if I'd been hired to be their nanny, I'd have been like,
I'm out.
Sorry, they were mysteriously sold to this, you know, strange character over there.
Like a dog.
They're just so annoying, and I'm fairly sure they may be ghosts and they might not actually exist. But I don't know. Like I say, I'm like 3 episodes in. They could be real. They could just be really annoying.
You could be like real annoying.
Yeah. Okay. So, what is one of your favourite horror telly shows, Georgie?
When we use the word horror,
okay.
We spoke about this, I think, when we were compiling our notes. Horror doesn't always have to be something that's scary.
Yeah.
A lot of people consider, you know, cryptids and monsters to be horror. You know, if you have a Wendigo, if you have a shapeshifter, if you have a werewolf.
Yep.
Yeah, that's horror. Monster of the week type thing, that's horror.
I know what we're talking about, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know what we're talking about.
Demons, that's horror.
Yeah.
As a result, the show...
Exorcisms.
Yes. Someone who, because they were such a fan of this show, became an ordained minister and committed the Roman passage of exorcism to memory.
Yep.
This show dominated my life. Dominates my life.
I was like, come on, let's correct yourself to the truth, please.
Supernatural.
And I am going to be straight up here. I miss the Monster of the Week format.
Me too. If for some reason you haven't watched Supernatural, I feel like a Jehovah's Witness.
I know, yeah.
If you haven't watched Supernatural...
Have you thought about letting Supernatural into your life?
Literally. Season 15, I think, is wrapping. If you're going to start watching it and you haven't watched it already, stop after season 5 or 6.
Yes.
And that's what I will say to everybody. Because
it's the same as The Walking Dead. Once you get to the jail, just finish.
I've never watched The Walking Dead, you know.
The first season is very good. And the stuff with the governor and Woodbury, very, very good. Even so far as to, like I say, the jail, very good.
Yeah.
But just towards the end, you just want to, honestly, you're just like, I just hope everybody gets eaten by zombies.
I mean, speaking of horror TV shows, you can't deny the effect that that's had on... that was something that I think really brought a horror to TV.
Yes. I mean, if you
making horror episodics hard, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's really hard to pitch that to an executive and be like, there is nothing good about this show.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like there's nothing good about the show. I mean like tonally, there is nothing good. Nothing good ever happens. If anything good does happen, 2 weeks later they get eaten.
Yeah.
Or, you know, they're going to get married. That's lovely. Now his head's been smashed in.
And that's that's the point of TV shows. You become invested in those characters and in those storylines. And if you're killing them off, it's hard to do that. But I think that's like testament to...
It's also not hard to do that if you're supernatural, because every time someone dies, well, the dead don't stay dead, do they, Dean?
Okay, I am the first to admit that show has so many flaws. So many flaws. I mean, God, it's baity. There are plot holes left, right, and centre.
It's really badly baity. Oh my God.
I know, but we take things into our own hands when we have to.
And killing Felicia Day was just unnecessary.
My queen.
I know. An angel.
Charlie Bradbury, love you. But for all its flaws, it is... That show is like my comfort show. Like, you know, when you're having like a bit of a... You want to put something on that makes you feel safe and warm.
Yeah.
I go and watch the two men that I love more than any actual human man.
Sorry, Mikey.
You know, he gets it. It's
I like
everything
that you said
to me.
Human man.
You know what I mean? Like real, you just show like an actual person, you know? Yeah. Not like a fictional character. Technically, Castiel's an angel, so. And I just think that, like you said, the Monster of the Week formula that you had in the early seasons.
So good, yeah.
It's great.
I loved the travelling on the dirt roads, reading John's journal, looking at his little illustrations that he'd drawn. I loved that. Love that.
And I mean,
for me, like, I know it's like things like House and other examples, X-Files, I guess. Monster of the Week is fine, and I like it, and I understand that people worry that people are going to get bored of the same episodic sort of formula time after time. But I feel like don't be afraid of it. Like, not everything has to be horrendously overarching.
Yeah.
Like, it can be you could have a theme, you know?
Yeah.
Have it for like a season. But like, just change it up, you know?
So like
go to Alaska for a bit.
Yeah. I loved the Angels and Demons storyline because that's my jam. You know it's my jam. But
I liked some of it. I hated the stuff with the Leviathans.
With Dick Roman, yeah. So that's why I say to people, finish after season 5 or 6, because you get like, oh, a Leviathan, and then you don't need to know anything else about it. Yeah. But I think the whole Angels and Demons storyline and the vessels, put it in my veins. It's everything to me. I get very emotional about this show, and I think as horror, if you're looking at horror tropes, if you're looking at monsters, scary stuff, ghouly bits, folklore, and ghouly bits, and like folklore, and this is a monster, this is where it's come from, this is how this is what it does, this is how you eliminate it. That, episodically, Monster of the Week, early seasons of Supernatural, top tier.
Yeah, I would agree. And I'm going to bring another episodic to the table with the one and only Hannibal.
I'm ashamed to say I didn't even put it on my list, you know.
I'm ashamed to say that I only just wrote it down.
All right,
the thing is
then.
with Hannibal, I consider it to be so god tier that it doesn't even exist in the realm of a TV show anymore. It like exists in the realm of like my dreams.
Of like biblical verse, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, though, horror. In my head, I'm like, oh, psychological thriller, drama.
Yeah, I think it doesn't tie with me to horror, but it's definitely a horror show. Like my mum would never sit and watch it.
Precisely.
Whereas like she would watch The Fall, for example, which is also horror elements, but very much a psychological cat and mouse thriller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think the visuals of Hannibal and the nature and the murders have to put it in the Hannibal.
The cannibalism.
The cannibal camp, the horror camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And the fact that, there's like the Wendigo storyline and stuff.
Yeah. Well, exactly. It's weird, isn't it? I think with movies, it's not really as much of a conversation, but with TV shows, because of what we mentioned before, marketing something for TV, horror and TV don't always necessarily gel well. And with streaming services, it's becoming more and more common that you'll see episodic horror. Yeah. But I think for stuff like The Walking Dead, to be on at a scheduled time every week, to be quite...
For so long.
Yeah, to be quite gory and hot. To be fair, and Supernatural, it's on CW. Is it still on CW? Yeah. That's how long... I stopped watching it, so that's... To have it be such a prime time thing, that's a really big win for horror.
I mean, that's got to be one of their biggest assets.
Yeah, and I think that's a really cool thing. That, like you say, with Hannibal, I don't automatically go horror. I'm like, oh, psychological drama, thriller. It's weird, isn't it? If it's like a marketing thing or...
There's so many more elements in them. But at its core, I think they are horror. Well, as we always say, horror adjacent, at least.
Yeah.
Horror adjacent. I'm going to throw out like an old one.
Oh,
hello. That genuinely I think stands up to being one of the best mini-series of all time, and it might be a more British thing, but Dead Set, I don't know if you remember it.
No.
So Dead Set is the Channel 4 Big Brother zombie miniseries.
Yes. No, now you've described it. I remember it. I've thought of a good one.
Okay. For those who maybe like, I don't know where you live or if you have this show, in the UK they have this show called Big Brother, where a group of strangers go and live in a house, isolated from all their friends and family and the outside world for a certain amount of time, and they're given challenges and various bits and bobs. And what Dead Set was set like a normal season of Big Brother with the hosts that would normally host it as well. Davina McCall.
Yeah.
Back in the day. And,
never forget.
So they're in the house, and the house is obviously like two-way mirrors, backs onto like a bit of studio space and things like that. And I can't quite remember how they start to get infected, but this virus gets in and they turn to zombies. And I just remember it being such like an event and such a great show because of the way it was put together, that it definitely goes on my list. I don't know where you can watch it now. It did make a little resurgence in the last couple of years. I think it went on to Netflix. Maybe, or it might be BritBox, and I saw an advert for it. But it's definitely worth a watch because it's only a couple of hours, so you could definitely do like it over 2 days. But it's a really interesting watch if you like 28 Days Later.
Okay.
Like, and you like Davina McCall, you'd vibe with it quite well.
Those die-hard Davina fans out there.
Fuck off! I love Davina McCall.
Sure. Right, this is a quick one that you just reminded me of, and I forget about it because I genuinely think that it's a fever dream.
Oh my god, I got another one. Is it Rosemary's Baby?
No.
Ah, that's another good one.
Because whenever people talk to me about it, whenever I talk to people about it, they don't remember it, and I know it happened because I used to watch it at my nan's house.
This is so exciting. What is it?
It's a kids' TV show. I think it was called Jeopardy. And it was
with
like
the exclamation mark.
It was like these Australian kids in the outback. If anyone remembers this, please let me know. I can't remember if it was called Jeopardy, but I think it was.
Me and Round the Twist.
It was, yeah. And it was these Australian kids in the outback. And they're, like, hiking or something. And then they get separated from their friends. But then they get, like, possessed by something.
Yeah. It's the one that they go... They go in search of a UFO.
Yes! I fucking love that. It was terrifying. To a child.
To a child. It still could potentially be terrifying to an adult who's afraid of UFOs. Yeah, I do remember that. It was on CBBC.
Yes. Honourable mention, Jeopardy.
Honourable mention to that one. Obviously, the OG, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
She's on my list, of course.
She's a girl. So, not hugely terrifying, but hugely entertaining. And as much as Joss Whedon has his flaws, many flaws, you can't really argue that it isn't just a wonderful universe show. You know, Cordelia was done so wrong, but
Justice for Cordelia.
Aside that and all the other wrongful deaths, which are mostly the girls, but again, Joss Whedon aside, a great show. Giles will forever be my main man. And yeah, I think amazing. And I remember watching it. The first ever episode I watched was at my grand's house, and I was scared because it happened to be the werewolf episode.
Explains so much.
Yeah, but that's got to be on that list of the best horror TV shows.
I think Buffy the Vampire Slayer is one of some of the best ever episodes of TV in general.
Ever. I mean, obviously, the best ever is Once More with Feeling.
There's a guy at the uni I'm at, a really weird thing to say, who's writing an essay on... He's a literature student too, but it's about lyric, and he's using Once More with Feeling as his
if he needs anyone who's, like, seen it so much, let him know that I am available to chat with it anytime.
But that's it. Like, there's stuff like that, and Is It the Body and Hush... These episodes push the barriers and show that this can be done. It can be done in TV and it can be done in a medium that can be horror. And that's one of the best episodes of TV of all time.
One of the best episodes of TV to be ever made. I mean, The Gentlemen are easily the most terrifying foes. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just distracted also thinking about the creepy, like, creatures that they had with them that had like straight jackets on and like lashed their arms about in a spooky way.
So I think not just horror but of TV, it's one of the best shows.
Yes, and also for its like queer representation, it did big things for its time, even if it like wronged them in the end.
I was about to say even if it was like actually no,
but for the time, it did good things. Moving on to games, or have you got another TV show you'd like to mention?
2 more.
Okay, 2 more.
People forget that it was a TV show before it was a film.
Yes, so it...
the better one. I'm just going to put that out there now.
The better one. So Tim Curry's It is generally released as a film now, but the reason why it's so long is because it was a mini-series to start with.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot more manageable in the however many chunks it would originally have been.
Yeah, and again, my fear of clowns, because I was introduced to Stephen King, my bookshelf, a lot of Stephen King, when I was too young, but I love Stephen King. That's my dad's fault. So when you...
God damn it, Gary.
Literally, when you fucking watch it for the first time, and there's a clown going, oh, hi, Georgie.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
I can see why I did that.
Yeah. It's... I think as a series, they split the film into 2. I think it works well as a series. Again, episodic kind of horror.
Yeah, I think that definitely, like, I think it works better as a series than it does as 2 films. Because if you were to split that into, say, 6 chunks or whatever, you'd have a lot more suspense and room to and to build on certain things and to like explore certain things a bit more. Yeah, I think you're right.
Then my last one, because I'm a basic bitch and we all know
it. Do it.
Basic bitch, but things I love about horror the most are pretty people and the aesthetic. Honourable mention, American Horror Story.
Ah, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Come on,
I mean, you're right. We have to mention this. I'm not a huge fan. Sorry, the cat's having like a pure yell at my door.
I thought that was just like the end. I was like, okay, cool.
No, I'm going to do like a sad meow and it's just buzzing. So, I aesthetically love it. Absolutely, always vibe with how it looks. Looks amazing. Big fan. Big fan quite often of like the soundtracks and things like that go on.
Yeah.
Big fan of Stevie Nicks appearing in Coven. Obviously, she is the queen.
Yes.
But I just get really bored. I get really bored.
You know what?
5 episodes in.
I get it. I get it.
I have tried to watch, I think, at least 3/4 of them. So I did the first one. I did Coven.
Mm-hmm.
I did Asylum.
That's my favourite one.
I did Freak Show, which I wanted to be like my favourite, and it was not.
Didn't like it.
I did
you
Roanoke.
Oh, Roanoke, yeah.
Oh, I did Hotel. I did a lot of Hotel because like Lady Gaga's boss.
Yeah.
I love Kathy Bates being in it. I love her every time she's in it. I love Sarah Paulson, obviously. And I just feel, and I always go into it and I'm like, this time it'll be different. And then I'm like, it's not. And I'm done with this. But aesthetically, it is beautiful. And I can appreciate what he's trying to do. And I enjoy the reuse of the same cast as the different characters. But all in all, it just doesn't float me boat.
Thing is, I think you can split it very, very much. You know, Sarah Paulson can literally, I love her, I adore her. And Jessica Lange, I love her. Oh my god.
Oh god,
I want to be you. And there are some seasons, I've got a soft spot in my heart for Murder House because it was the first one I saw.
Yeah.
I love Asylum, except the last episode or 2. As a series, fucking incredible. And again, you know what I'm like, anything that's like, oh, religious iconography and horror. Ooh.
Yeah.
But then at the end,
I'm the same.
I was like,
it ticks so many boxes.
But then you've got a series like Freak Show, and I'm like, I wanted you to be so good. And if you go and read our review of Ratched on Netflix, there are a lot of flaws with American Horror Story. The way it deals with certain aspects, the way it deals with disability, the way it deals with different elements of representation. Some of it can be great, some of it can be really, really, really damaging. And I think
I find
you can't overlook that.
A little jarring.
Yeah. I think it took horror. It showed that it can be high production value, it can be episodic, it can be slick as fuck, you know, really clean, really, really good, beautiful looking, really unnerving, and that can be on TV. I think it did that well.
Yeah. It's a little bit too Instagrammable for me. Style over substance.
Yeah. Some have a substance to back it up, but some of them are just... Yeah. Concur.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw the ball over to you now. So, horror games.
Yes.
As you know, I'm not a gamer girl. I like Nintendogs and Mario Kart, and that's me.
And that's totally fine.
And I'm not good at either. So.
No, but what you are good at is Call of Duty and
really
Saints Row, so that's it.
I actually fucking love Saints Row.
Saints Row is legit.
So good.
It's allowed. We're allowed some trash. Okay, so we're talking video games.
Yes.
So my first choice is Until Dawn, which I rave about every single time we talk about horror games, because it's fantastic. So it's a group of kids go to a lovely big wooden lodge that is owned by the parents of one of the kids, who's played by Rami Malek. So they do all the mocap and the voice acting and stuff. So it's Rami Malek's actual face, and it's Hayden Penner. What's her face's face also?
Scream Girl.
Yeah. And it's also the guy who plays Grant Ward in Shield. It's also his face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's got like a pretty solid cast. Yeah. So basically we begin. I'm not going to give you like all the spoilers, but like it's been out for years, so yeah, whatever.
It's on you at this point, guys. Basically, is what we're saying.
So it's literally within the first 10 minutes, you go to this huge house for a party and a big sleepover, and like I think you're all going skiing or whatever. So they play a prank because they're all generally quite trash humans on the nice twin sisters of Rami Malek. They run out the house in the snow in the middle of the night into a crappy situation and fall down a big hill into a mine.
Oh god, creepy spot. No.
Yeah. So then we come back again 1 year later, and basically everyone's invited back to the house to do like a memorial weekend. Kind of.
Do they not go and look for them?
I think they try.
Oh, okay. I was like, no, well they're gone now.
Like it's not great. So so they go back to the house. So everybody goes back, and then you get to know all the characters. So you take turns playing each character. Everybody's kind of coupled off. And you get to know the relationships, but you also get to choose how you react to certain situations. So it is a lot of walking, a lot of quick time events, a lot of like selecting things, looking at clues and things like that. Okay. It's not all high action all the time. So it's a bit of I would say it's a bit of a slow burn. It's not hugely because it's quite a compact game. But it's like the perfect length. It's a really good length. So there's a few elements going on, so you're always never really sure what's happening, which is nice. Yeah. There's like quite a few like feints in it, so you're like, oh, that's what's happening. Then you're like, oh, that's not.
Oh, sake, yeah.
Oh my god. And it's like you have the capability to save everybody by the end of the day, because you have to basically survive until dawn.
Yeah.
And if you can save everybody, great. Some people you'll maybe not even want to save. My first playthrough, I killed some people because I was like, they bitches. Get down the mine shaft. But yeah, and I've not really explained it very well, but it's really good.
I'm compelled. I think that sounds interesting.
I mean, let's put it this way. I played it, and then I played it again, and then I platinumed it. So, yeah. I was like, let's play this big and hard. Yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
It's got some folk horror. It's got some slasher. It's got some just good sort of American horror tropey action.
Yeah.
Visually, it's amazing. Yeah. Like the likeness is photoreal.
Yeah.
And really interesting. It uses all of the tricks in the book. It uses everything it's got available to it. It's like there's points where if you like move the controller, then like whatever's haunting you will know you're there.
That sounds scary.
So you have to be like really careful. So
I'd be really bad at that. I'm that person that plays Mario Kart and does this. So I would be terrible at that, I think, yeah.
It's really good, and it's just sort of like a really well spun tale of like loss and revenge and, you know, sort of remorse, and it's really good. And it would be, you know, it's like watching a film play out. So it's well written, it's well crafted, it's got quite good cinematic characters, super cinematic, hugely cinematic. Okay. The company the developers who did it are doing a whole it's called the Dark Pictures Anthology. So they've released a load of them. So Man of Medan came out last year, and then there's another one that comes out super soon. All very similar styles, kind of a bit Monster of the Weeky.
Yeah.
It's generally like a group of friends get into a situation. You then have to try and get everybody to survive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely say Until Dawn is always worth a pick up, and it's so cheap now. It's criminally cheap. That because I think it came out in like 2015. So especially as we go to next gen, you could pick that up for less than a tenner, and you could have like a week's worth of a great time.
Yeah.
Swiftly moving on to something that's like a bit of an IP, but Alien Isolation.
I've heard a lot of good things about Alien Isolation.
So not set in like the Aliens world, but basically adjacent to it. So, as far as I can remember, I think you're a relative of Ripley, and basically again you have to just hide from the xenomorph that's just mooching around, trying to get you, trying to chomp you. So you'll find yourself like hiding in a vent, hiding in a locker.
As you do.
So it's set 15 years after the first film. Daughter of Ellen Ripley, Amanda Ripley, is who you play as. So really good. Everybody's like really, really positive reviews. Lots of fun, lots of stress. Much more a stealth game compared to Until Dawn. Until Dawn features some stealth, but this is like all stealth all the time. Too much noise will alert the creature to come get you, so then you gotta hide and you gotta use like everything that's around you to try and stay safe. So you're under tables, like I said, you're in vents and stuff. But it's good. It's sort of like a lo-fi 70s kind of like vibe, and it is really good. It won like a bunch of awards as well, and it's just a good time. It's really fun to watch people play on streams as well.
Yeah, because I imagine it's quite like an immersive game.
Definitely very immersive. You can just be sort of like milling around for a bit and you're thinking you're all fine, and then next thing you know you're getting dribbled on and it's above you.
And not in the fun way.
Not in the good way. Very good. Next on my list is particularly Resident Evil 7. So Resident Evil as a whole, obviously a very, very fine horror franchise, very strong franchise. Very fine in a good sense, not just an average sense. Iconic, historic, genre defining, all the things. Same as like Silent Hill. But for me personally, number 7, as we talked about recently with Andy Conduit Turner over on the on an episode of Press Start, we did like a big deep dive into number 7 and why it sort of feels so different to the rest. But this one particularly, if you're looking to pick up a horror game for the season, is a great one. You can get it again, super cheap. It's also got capabilities to be played entirely in VR if you've got, big enough balls. Because it's meant to be terrifying.
Yeah, that's a hard pass from me.
I keep trying to start it and do it because it's not the balls I lack, but I get motion sick with the space hat on. So
the true horror, motion sickness.
Yeah. So I'm yet to get it all the way through, but it's meant to be terrifying in the hat. But it's a really grim experience from start to finish. So you are basically you're playing as a character called Ethan, and your wife's been missing for like 4 years or something, and you finally get like a communication from her, and she's in like arse end of nowhere in this swamp, and she'd been like the nanny for this girl, and something had gone wrong. So you head on down there, even though she's like, "Don't come after me." We obviously go.
It's a short game, if not.
Yeah, go see what's going on. And basically, you meet the family, the Baker family. And they've been like, I don't want to say possessed. It's like possessed / infected by this presence. And you basically just have to survive all the way through the different sort of chapters with the family. So there's a lot of it's kind of episodic, like we were saying before. Certain areas belong to certain members of the family, and you sort of face each one gradually, and you work your way up. But it's a big adventure, and some bits of it you're like, this is horrendous. It's a lot more gory. It's a lot more gruesome. It's a lot more of an event. Like, it's a lot like Saw in places where it kind of reminds me of that. Like, Saw is only good for for like going to the cinema with a group of friends to see who's gonna like wuss out the most. Like that's the point of those films.
It's always me.
It's always Georgie. And it's kind of like that, and it's like a good, easy, like mainstream horror.
Okay.
Yeah, and number 8 looks amazing, to be fair. So number 8 is Village, which is set in a village.
What?
I know. So it's set like in some snowy backwoods village, and I think there's werewolves.
Oh.
But it's also Ethan again, who, if he hasn't suffered enough, and his poor wife get dragged to some village, and have to deal with whatever's going on there. And yeah, so it's really good. I really enjoyed it. It was my first sort of big revisit back to the Resident Evil world, and then number 2 got remastered not long after, which was amazing. So number 2 remastered is really good. Number 3 obviously also had a remaster, which is good. So yeah, I think any of the Resident Evils is a good horror choice, especially for this sort of time of year.
It's one of those things, isn't it? You say horror games and you think Resident Evil, and the other one that you think of, I have a hunch you're about to come on to next.
Yeah. So Silent Hill.
There it is.
Yeah, we'll just talk about it briefly because it's so much, it's so synonymous with Resident Evil. They need to hurry up and do either a new one or a remaster. Because I want to play them again, but I want to play them like nicely.
I was going to say, but like, yeah.
Not on my PlayStation 1. When we were in lockdown and my work was shut, I decided to actually go back and play Silent Hill. Because it had been so long since I played it. And it was great, but it was also like really stunted by its age.
Yeah.
And I still had a great time, and it was still tense, and it was still spooky. But yeah, I'd love to see a remaster.
The remaster would be fantastic.
Yeah, it was so good, and like I live in hope every time we do like a PlayStation Now or E3 or whatever that they're gonna turn around and be like, surprise, it's coming, because obviously everybody thought it was when they did PT, which was like a lot of what is like very similar to Silent Hill, and then that was cancelled. So it's one of those, really.
It's one of those not systems. It's one of those series that we're looking for. The same with Resident Evil is so iconic.
Yes.
Not even just within people that really enjoy games. Jesus Christ! Whenever it's misty outside, about 6 people. Oh, it's like Silent Hill out there.
Yes.
Everyone knows
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the characters and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got so many like iconic elements to it, like you say, that are just so transferable across so many things.
Yeah.
That like surely a remake is just quids in. It's got to be like,
it is licensed to print money, you'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, especially if you make it for the 4 and 5, like people can still pick it up for if they're not getting the new console. People who are getting the new console, if they want something like a bit nostalgic, perfect.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be really good.
Yeah, I do. I agree. So, get on with it, please.
Chop, chop.
So, my last one for the horror games is Dying Light, which is from a company called Techland, who were at the time a relatively small to medium Polish studio, who had done some stuff with, I want to say Left 4 Dead, but now I think it might have been Dead Island.
Something
basically, it's a zombie game.
Yeah.
So similar to Resident Evil. But it absolutely took off in a huge way. And they managed to they grew massively. They've had loads of awards from the Polish government for how much.
Amazing.
Yeah, because they brought loads of industry to Poland. And they've expanded and stuff, so they got a huge grant because they were bringing some the arts and culture and stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's brilliant, and they've really earned their space, and they're really doing really good work, and they're bringing out number 2 at some point. There's no date, and it's okay because it'll happen. But yeah, it was a total wild card. I insisted on buying it, and was like, we'll see how it goes. Loved it. Played it non-stop for months. And there's just so much to it. So you are a soldier, or at least some sort of military person, who arrives in the fictional country city of Haran to basically observe and see what's going on with this infection that's running rampant. You get there, you get into some trouble, you get bitten, like, within, like, 5 minutes. They manage to give you some, like, stuff that staves it off, and then you basically get integrated with this, sort of like a rebellion group that are still in the city, who are going against, the group who are in power in the city, but they're also, like, a rebel group.
Okay.
And yeah, it's good. It's like on the brink of an apocalypse kind of world. The zombies are grim. Some great designs. It's a lot of free running, so there's like loads of parkour, which is fun. It's a really fun way to like traverse around the city.
Yeah.
The weapons are bananas, so you can like get a machete, but you can like electrify a machete.
Electric Machete, new band name.
Yes. So it's just a huge amount of fun. So there's a lot of gore, there's a lot of blood, there's a lot of grimness, but also you're having like a great time.
Yeah.
The missions at night are horrifying. Because the big bad zombies come out at night. And they will like stalk you through the city, and they're grim.
That's scary.
But also you can play online, and if you play online, every time it's nighttime, you have other players enter where you are.
Okay.
And they control these zombies.
Oh, that's
cool. So it's a separate mode, but also it goes into the main game. So I think that's really interesting, and I really like that aspect. I'm not very good zombies, but I never really win. But I'm quite good at surviving. Yeah. Call of Duty Zombies is the one. Like, I am top tier at that. I played that like Kino to Toten for like years.
Literally. Like the Call of Duty Zombies I would play with my dad every Friday night before dinner. Like, that was the tradition.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I have played Nuketown Zombies for so long. Yeah, love that. Yeah. So yeah, they're my choices, and there's a lot to unpack. They are quite zombie-ish, but they're good to sort of. Obviously, also you get things like The Last of Us.
I was gonna say, yeah. Would you class that as horror?
Yeah, I would say that. Like, I don't know. It's got it's more of an adventure game with horror elements. And sort of more of a survival game, because whilst you're surviving against the horror, you're also surviving against the people. Yeah. So I would definitely say that's more of an adventure.
I mean, you say there's a lot of zombies in the video game ones. You're the scholar here. I'm just a filthy casual. One could argue...
Love it, yep.
My favourite phrase, you know this.
I love that phrase.
Zombies are probably one of the easier horror tropes to incorporate into a video game, because you've got the chase, you've got the stealth, you've got those elements.
You can also have a lot of fun with making them like an ocean of enemies coming towards you.
Yeah, I think they would play the best out of a lot of horror tropes. Do you? Yeah,
I agree. And I think because you don't have like a huge amount of vampire games. Like, there is the game Vampire, but you play as a vampire. And it is fun. You have to make moral choices as to whether you eat people or not. I ate the bad guys. Nice. And then obviously you've got like Castlevania, but like they're more of like, they're not really a horror game. I wouldn't say they're more of like just an arcade game. Yeah. But I think with a vampire game, you would have to almost have like whoever the vampire is would be like the end boss, and you have some sort of creatures that you have to lead up to. Whereas the zombies are like an ever-present base level enemy. Yeah. So like, because they're just people who had like a really bad day. So they would be there in mass. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, you've got some games like that are just all like creepy. Like, look at Five Nights at Freddy's. Remember that? That's just scary. I hate it. And it's coming back as a launch title for the PS5.
Is it?
Because that's what I want when I've spent 500 quid.
Where's my Silent Hill?
Exactly.
But then you've got stuff like I'm showing my gaming illiteracy here.
Amazing.
What was it? Was it not Insomnia? The one in the psychiatric ward, and you've got to creep around, and it was
Outlast?
maybe I only know it because of like gaming YouTubers, and they would play it a lot. But stuff like that, like the psychological horror of stuff, like that kind of element, that kind of vibe. Amnesia, Insomnia, Outlast.
Let me have a look. I think you're talking Outlast, but it might be Soma, maybe.
It was a while ago. It was a long time ago, I think.
Soma might be in space.
It was long enough ago that Joe Sugg played it, I think.
Outlast.
My friend told me to watch it.
Yeah, so you're investigating a remote psychiatric hospital named Mount Massive.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think you mean Outlast.
So
it is scary.
You know, stuff like that I think is interesting, but they're not available in the same way or in the same volume that the zombie ones are available.
Yeah, because like the zombies are sort of like the vehicle that you're just using to like get from A to B.
Yeah.
Cool. Alright then. So yeah, we've given you like a massive rundown there of like things you can play and things you can watch. All good in their own rights. All spooky. Yeah. So, you've got no excuse to leave the house.
No more.
So enjoy. Get some snacks. Put your feet up. Play some good games. Yeah, as always, let us know. Let us know what your favourites are. Let us know what you thought.
Let us know what we missed.
Yeah, definitely. If we missed something in particular, let us know. Maybe we'll talk about it in another video.
In a nice and polite way.
Yeah.
Let us know what we missed.
As always, don't be a dick.
Mm.
We'll see you guys again soon.
Bye.
Bye.